Well, hey again, everyone. It's been quite a long time since I did a video update for you guys for the channel, let you know what's been going on. A lot of it's been just kind of scheduled. All these little things have been going on that haven't allowed for a lot of extra time to kind of do that stuff. I've obviously been doing recording commentaries, producing other reviews and stuff like that. So in between that, there's been a lot of days working. Major problem I had with my car that got fixed, but it was a bit of a time in a couple of days that I wasn't able to do as much as I'd like to and feeling quite as good as I could, and various other things that happened. So I'll get you up to speed on all that stuff very shortly, and some other media pickups as I've acquired over the long number of weeks. I don't remember when the last one I did was. Might have been end of June, so it could be a good solid month and a half, if not a little longer than that, since I did a video update. So let's get up to speed on what's coming up here on the channel. Obviously, we just this past week I put out a review for Hard Target, and also put out the first commentary for the Scream franchise with Steve and myself. We've also recorded the one for Scream 2, which will be coming up in about a week and a half or so. So making sure things are nice and spaced out. Everyone can enjoy the first one and get the second one out in a little bit of later time there. And we're definitely playing on a couple different things. Way back, whatnot, me and Trent were going to do a commentary for The Fugitive, but the schedule's got a little bit kind of in a conflict on different things. We couldn't arrange it. And so it's still on the books. We're still kind of just looking to settle on when everything can interlock and he can get out here and we can record things and do all that type of stuff. So it's still on the agenda. We just haven't had the ability to kind of sync up and get things up on that range. And of course, we'll finish off the Scream franchise a little bit later on. Me and Steve will probably do at least one kind of a breather in between the two halves of the franchise. We're definitely doing a commentary for The Strangers, the 2008 terrifying horror film. I've got the Scream Factory Blu-ray for over a year now and haven't actually watched the blasted thing, but I got on a bit of a sale at the time, so I grabbed it up as soon as I could. And so we'll definitely be making use of that. We'll certainly be doing the unrated, uncut version of the film. So you'll be having a heads up on that whenever we get around to that. But that's still a number of weeks away. I have shot the next review, which is for Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. I was promising the Rambo 2008 film that is coming up still. I just felt when I was sitting around on Sunday and wanting to do something that felt like the right thing for me to do at the time. It was kind of the vibe I was feeling. I didn't feel like I wanted to go into another heavy action film type of thing. I wanted to go into something that felt very familiar and a bit of a different flavor of a film, whatnot. So I just went off, got everything set up for that. I just shot it that night and got it all done. Just haven't had any time whatsoever to do any editing. So that's hopefully by the end of next week, that review should be hopefully out. I've got an extra day off next week, so by happenstance, so they'll add in a little extra time for me to get that type of stuff going and everything. So after that, because we're pretty much just about 1 month away from Last Blood, that Rambo 2008 film, absolutely 100% guaranteed will be the next one after Search for Spock. So that'll be good stuff. It'll be perfect timing because I'll do that, get a few other things on the channel, then go off and see Lad's Blood on September 20th there about that weekend and give you my thoughts on that, because I've already done reviews for the first 3 Rambo films a couple years back. All the thoughts and critiques, whatnot, hold up to my opinions now, so you can still go back and watch those. That's really about 2015 is about the time I really feel like I started really getting a strong handle on doing the reviews. I've obviously continued to improve and refine and do our things, improve the presentation, improve the editing stuff, all these different things. But 2015 feels like I kind of shook off the sort of novice growing pains of that whole thing, where like the first year was really kind of rough. And I've done a lot of Redux reviews from that first year I did. 14 is a little bit more, still trying to find my legs, but kind of getting into a bit of a groove, but kind of still trying to find how things kind of fit together, whatnot. I still think a lot of the horror reviews from that Forever Horror Month season that year really still hold up very well. A lot of the other stuff is kind of like here or there, a little bit here and that place. But 2015, I got this new microphone that I've been using ever since. I feel like the First Blood review was like that first kind of review that felt like, yeah, I really kind of nailed something I'm still very, very proud of. So that whole thing from that point onwards really still felt like it was kind of gaining a little bit more kind of footing in what I was doing there. So really looking forward to doing that stuff. So that's going on now. So Search for Spock will come out next week, and Scream 2 commentary will come out shortly thereafter, and then we'll figure out who's syncing up with me, because Steve's got a few dates he's not going to be available for, and a few other things he might be here for, might not be here for, so he's still got a few little things in flux, and a few things that are just not on the schedule to be able to be available for that. So we're just kind of feeling things out here and there, but good stuff coming up there. So we got a lot of things coming up after that, and I've got a lot of media pickups I'll get to shortly here, but yeah, just a cool little thing here, because someone on the channel did mention this on one of the videos we posted recently, that Steve and I did go to Flashback Weekend in Chicago. So when you guys are there, apparently you thought you saw me there. Weren't entirely certain, but yeah, I was there. Steve was there, and I was, oddly enough, Trent was actually across the street at a national sports convention where he was getting a signing from Hulk Hogan and a photo and all that stuff, for very, 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 very pricey costs and whatnot. But he was across the street at the same time we were at Flashback Weekend, so I ended up going over there and just meeting up with him for a minute, and then going back to everything going on over there at the horror convention. So it was kind of a nice thing. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all, but I felt like I've gotten a lot more out of like the Days of the Dead conventions. I think there's a little bit more variety of just franchise stars at the Days of the Deads I've been to. Flashback this year was a lot more kind of like Elm Street centric. They had a lot of the ladies from it. Of course, Robert Englund was there, and I didn't meet him. I met Lisa Wilcox, as I got a autograph up here for, and I got a photograph with her as well. I just chatted with her for a little bit. It was the second person I met, but since I'm on her right now, first off, I kind of like I said, I love everything I've seen you in. I loved her in her guest starring spot on Star Trek: The Next Generation, where her character actually shows up in like one of the like a board game or something like that. She's actually got her character in that episode, The Vengeance Factor, actually is kind of shown up in different media of Star Trek here and there with her photograph production stills kind of showing up here. So it's kind of a nice little thing. She did have a still for that, but obviously got her as Alice Johnson from Dream Master up here on the autograph. So she wrote a little quote on there and everything, and just signed it really nicely. She was really nice, sweet lady and everything. And Steve met Lisa Zane from Freddy's Dead, so he could add her to his collection of autographs on his Freddy's Dead poster. And he didn't get around to meeting or kind of shaking hands with anyone else, but they had Tuesday night there. They had Amanda Weiss, Heather Lang, Kent, which me and Steve and a friend Steve was with, sat in on her Q&A. Sat on one for Lance Henriksen. Luckily, someone did ask him a hard target question. This was right after I shot the review, like 2 days after I shot the review or something like that. And so someone actually asked him a question about Hard Target, pretty much about the big long burn that he did with the trench coat on fire and all that type of stuff. So that was kind of nice there. And he kind of like said he was so pumped up with the adrenaline with the whole thing. He was willing to go off and do a second take on that. But he said he would do anything with John Woo. He was very enthusiastic about it. So that was nice to get someone asking about that film, along with stuff like Near Dark and Aliens and Dog Day Afternoon, all these different films he's been with. And it was really nice seeing that he was so energetic for a guy of his age. He was so energetic, so fun to hear him talk about all this stuff. And he's probably asked these questions so many times, but he just loves doing these Q&As, the interactions, talking about his career and all this stuff. And just like it was just one of those things where it's like a whole thing with just him just loving doing what he does. That even if some people, like us fans, will be very critical about certain films that people appear in and think that, oh, they're better than that type of stuff. They could be in better films, but seeing what Lance was saying about just his career and how he loves acting, just being in the process of the whole thing. It's like he enjoys doing what he does. So it's like, it's kind of a nice thing to kind of hear that from the actor, from the artist themselves, and kind of like maybe take a little bit of a step back from the hardcore and passion type of thing, and just kind of look at it as like, yeah, so we might not like the certain quality of this film an actor appeared in, but there's a good possibility that they enjoyed making the whole thing, had a good time with the process, and had a fun time with it. So the actor still got something out of it for themselves and still enjoys doing the process. So even if we might see some films that certain actors we love appear in that don't measure up to our standards, always throw in the back of your mind that they probably had a fun time. They probably enjoyed something. Certainly, all films have their own behind-the-scenes stuff, and certain things don't go quite as smoothly on certain films, but there's a certain process, certain love of what they do. It's not always that end product that matters. Sometimes it's the process that matters. So that was really cool. And another person I met, I didn't get a photo with her. I was being kind of pinching a couple of dollars, kind of thinking forward. But the first person I did go up and engage with was Melinda Clarke from Return of the Living Dead 3, which I got her autograph over here, where she put down the pain keeps the hunger away. So it was really nice talking with her. She took a couple of minutes with everyone to talk, and I really kind of just I just told her that I thought her performance in the film was incredible, despite the rigorous hours and the kind of exhaustion that was probably involved with the makeup process on the film. And apparently the film was shot in like 3 goddamn weeks, which in a way was kind of surprising with the volume of effects work that was being done in that film. And so, but regardless of that, it seemed appropriate for a low budget horror film to be produced in that short amount of time. But I was just really engaged with what she had to say, and I was really appreciative towards her about what she put forward in the film, despite everything else she had to go through with the process of making it. I had some really nice words to give to her, and it was really nice to get that still from the poster or whatnot signed. So that was really nice to meet her. And unfortunately, I was kind of like him and hawing here and there or whatnot, and like, because everything was a little bit expensive in a certain way, and just like, who do I want to spend money on? So I kind of spent way too much time kind of like, oh, do I want to meet Heather? Do I want to meet Lance Henriksen? Do I want to meet Tony Todd? By the time I was kind of waiting around for Tony Todd, he was off doing his costume photo ops and didn't end up showing back up, so that was out of the question. I was going to talk all Star Trek with him all day long. I could have done that. That was my intention. If I was going to meet Tony, I was going to talk about Kern and all these different things that he did on Star Trek, these wonderful things. This one episode of Deep Space Nine he's on, playing the older version of Jake Sisko, almost brings me to tears every single time. It was like, whenever I see him at the horror conventions, I just think the horror stuff, but I never kind of click in my head, because usually under all this prosthetic makeup on Star Trek. But I just would have really talked with him Star Trek, but I obviously didn't get a chance with him. Then I was kind of like going back and forth away from Tom Atkins' table, where he had Sean Clark there from Horror's Hollow Grounds, and just like, I just waited too long and people started packing stuff up. So I was like, I wasn't gonna engage with that. I wasn't gonna disrupt that process, because if it was Tom Atkins, it would have been the exact same situation Steve talked about. I think it was probably the Halloween 3 commentary we did, that he's talked about how it was the end of the day at the con, and he was starting to pack up, and he goes up to Tom Atkins saying, oh, do you have time for one last thing or whatnot? And pretty much like in a hurry, he has him sign, I think it was something from Night of the Creeps, but he writes in Happy Halloween on the thing. So I wasn't going to repeat that situation. So it's like, okay, it's my fault if I'm going to hem and haw and kind of sit around and not make a decision. That's my fault. But regardless of that, I ran into Steve plenty of times, because it's not that big of a convention center. But hooked up with him time and time again, talked about things, and it was all right. It was fine. At this point in time, I don't regret it. When my car kind of broke down 2 days later, I was kind of in a quandary about spending that much money right before the car had some problems. But I'm fine now. The car is fine. I'm fine figuring out financial things at this point. But regardless of that, let's move on. Flashback Weekend was nice. Didn't make as much take as much advantage of it as I could have. That's my fault. But it was a nice piece of work and nice piece of business. So really nice stuff there. And we sat in and had their Lane Camp Q&A, and that was kind of nice. So things are all right. Things are all right. It's my fault that I didn't want to spend more money at the whole thing, because you're always kind of like, how much is too much? How much is not enough? So I don't know. Where it is. Anyway, new stuff. Some stuff I grabbed, this was like right at the beginning of July. I was grabbing up a lot of soundtracks. These are all horror soundtracks. First one was the J. Peter Robinson score for New Nightmare, which I've been regularly listening to while writing this whole script that I did get finished. And I sent it off to Steve, sent it off to Trent, didn't hear anything. They didn't give me an opinion on it, but I finally got it done, but I felt like ultimately that the script was a little too much ambitious. Not really ambitious, but there's enough scenes and it's long enough and there's enough locations, stuff like that, where I feel like let's start out with maybe something a little simpler before we jump into something that has this much logistics going on in it. But this was a soundtrack I was regularly listening to over the last, more or less, I started a year ago, then it took several months off from doing it, maybe about 4 or 5 months in between when like stuff happened and I walked away from it and came back to it. But regards to that, I kept listening to this score while I was working on that script, and so that was very integral to things. And also a little bit of the original Elm Street score, which some tracks on the original Elm Street score do sound a little bit cheesy. They're fine in the film, but when you're listening to them on your own as the experience of the album, they do kind of come off a tad bit cheesy in places. But I really wanted to get the Peter Robinson score after I rewatched New Nightmare again. The score blew me away that time, so I really grabbed that up. But some John Carpenter stuff. I've got the expanded edition of The Fog, which this goddamn soundtrack is phenomenal. When I watched the film earlier this year before we did the commentary, I was like, this score, I've got to get this score. And I finally did get it. I got it on a deal from Barnes & Noble's website, because they had like, they're doing some kind of sale or whatnot, whereas like things were already discounted, and then you could put a coupon code on top of that to get an even further discount. So I got this cheaper than I would have got it off of iTunes, and I've got the jewel case and the insert and different things. So I kind of like that because it goes along with my Prince of Darkness score over there. And I got the Halloween 3 Season of the Witch score as well, which is nice and cool stuff. So wanted to grab that because that's always something I've constantly gone back to several years now. They're kind of like, that's a really good score. I really like listening to this. It gets me a little bit into the mood and everything. So run and grab that. And just on a whim, because I only listened to like one track. Maybe I should listen to a couple more, but I did grab up the Lost Themes album from John Carpenter. I wasn't blown away by it, but there's a couple of tracks on there that I do like. But I was kind of like blown away by the first track on it, Vortex. It's like, oh, the rest of the score is like, the rest of the album's like this, then I really got to grab this. But it was maybe like $10 or something like that, so it's not a big loss if I don't get as much mileage out of it as these full scores. But it's kind of nice and everything. And grabbed up a Scream Factory Steelbook here because originally ordered the New Nightmare score off of Amazon. It was some kind of odd thing, like Amazon something or another. It was kind of like a used copy, but it was a Prime item, so it was kind of weird. But regardless of that, the thing shipped and it got lost somewhere. So it was, whatever the case was, like, it got delayed. Then halfway through the day where it got delayed to, nothing was happening. So I contacted Amazon, and they eventually just gave me a $20 credit on my account, and then refunded me the amount the day afterwards, which was like $6-7 or whatnot. But so I got a $20 credit, so I got the Steelbook of Life Force. And I've never watched this film all the way through, but I've watched enough people kind of deconstruct this film and break it down. It's like I've been wanting to kind of like get this and watch it for the last couple of years. And I kind of came across like a $15 Laserdisc, and it's like, what the fuck am I going to pay $15 for the goddamn Laserdisc for when I could get this for a couple bucks more? And obviously barely had to pay anything for this except for just a tad bit over the $20 price for tax and such. But the fact of the matter is, I really got to get into this. This is the 4K remaster version. I kept looking at different like Capsaholics comparisons. Like all these different scans look completely different. the color is different, the framing is a little bit different, the clarity is a bit different. Because there's the original Scream Factory one, there's like an Arrow version, then there's this version. It's like I couldn't make a decision, but regardless, the Arrow version is region locked. This is a 4K version, so just went ahead and grabbed it. So I have to get around to that eventually. But something I did get around to watching, a couple of things I have watched completely, is that I did grab up and watch all the Pet Sematary movies. I watched the original, which was absolutely amazing. I loved it. And because I grabbed that one up, that Blu-ray up blind buy back in like April or May, whenever the remake was coming out theatrically, they put out the new 4K remastered Blu-ray. So I grabbed that up blind buy because Steve had kind of recommended it a couple of times, and a couple other people as well. So bought it blind buy. Eventually watched it last month, and I really fucking loved the hell out of it. Then I got the sequel, which shortly after I got the DVD, like a couple of days after I got the DVD, we got the Scream Factory announcement at Comic-Con that they had gotten the license for this, but they wouldn't be putting out a Blu-ray until like February. But I sat down and watched this after I watched the original, and I was like, I didn't like it as much. Clancy Brown's a fucking amazing actor, and he steals the whole goddamn movie, but I definitely had flaws and issues with it. I didn't hate it. I just thought there's a lot of problems that don't measure up to the quality of the building of the story and the characters, the emotional investment of the first film. Felt a little bit kind of rushed in its storytelling, and things weren't quite convincing for me in terms of character motivations and the emotional storytelling of the whole thing. So it was like I felt a little bit cheaper in that type of way in terms of execution quality. It just didn't feel like the script had the substance, the feel that obviously Stephen King wrote the script for the first film. And so they didn't have him involved with the second film, but it's still the same director, Mary Lambert, stuff like that. But I just felt like it is more of a kind of like just kind of a fun ride horror film, but I didn't feel anywhere near the emotional investment of the first film. But then I did, of course, purchase the remake, because Steve actually said he did see that in the theater, and he did kind of like it. And so it's like I sat down, I watched it, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of hard to kind of look at it as fresh as possible after you just watched. If you know the original at all, it's kind of hard to not kind of have that in your mind, kind of like expectations of where the plot's going, these different things. But I still did like it. I did like it. I thought it was good. I thought there were a lot of good elements to it. Certain things that probably weren't as good as they could be, or something like that. So it's like, we are going to be doing commentaries on these. These are on the slate. All three films. So where we get to in the succession of these things, I don't know, but we are going to do it. Because Steve does have this big, long documentary on the first film on Blu-ray or DVD, so he lent it to a friend, and eventually he's probably going to give it off to me so I can get a little further into the depth of the film. And so I'll get that, and then eventually we will do all three of these films as commentary tracks. So I'm really hyped up for it. I really think there's a lot of good things to get into, a lot of interesting things to talk about. And because Steve's a really big King fan, is definitely said we need to tap for these commentaries. We need to tap some King adaptations for the channel. If I've got that resource of Steve, he knows his stuff, he's read a lot of these books, he knows the context of things, the adaptation of different things. You'll hear a little bit in the Scream 2 commentary. We talk a little bit about the process of adaptation of certain things. It came up in something we were talking about in this whole thing, but when you get to the Scream 2 commentary, we'll hear a little bit about that, and it's right near the beginning of the commentary, right before Jerry O'Connell shows up in the film, because we're talking King, we're talking about that stuff, and then the guy who was in Stand By Me shows up in the film, so that's cool stuff. So we're definitely getting into King, we're definitely getting into Pet Sematary stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. I'm really excited for it. We'll be getting to that eventually. And two films I just like, I was sitting around and I was kind of a bit of a quandary about what to review next before I decided on the Hard Target review. I just decided to pop up like on my Roku and started just looking for something to watch. Anything new, anything I hadn't seen before, some stuff I just got recommended. and I ended up watching the Happy Death Day movies. And obviously, because I have Blu-rays, I did like the films. I watched them both back to back, and I have these on the slate. These are probably coming in Forever Horror Month, and that's going to be a really fun thing that I'm going to get into. I really just want to get into these, but I wanted a little bit of breather after my initial watch before I jumped into a review. Give a little bit of space between the first viewing and the reviewing for the actual review. So a little bit of space, a little bit of time, and get into that. And a lot of people, there was some things that people didn't like about the second film because it went a little bit more sci-fi bent on the concept of this sort of, if anyone's not familiar with the Happy Death Day thing, it's basically like an Edge of Tomorrow, Groundhog Day thing as a slasher film. So at the anytime the main character gets killed, it repeats the day until she kind of figures out the entire mystery of what the fuck is going on, who's trying to kill her, and all this different stuff. So I was really engaged by it. It really kind of just it picked up momentum. It's like, I really like this. It's really fun. It felt like it was really kind of like in the vein of a lot of classic sort of 80s slashers in a certain way. It had a certain fun vibe to it that you don't get as much. And it was like, I didn't even notice these were PG-13. It didn't even strike a chord to me that they were PG-13. They were really well executed. I would think the second one did have me a little standoffish at first, but it won me over because it started really building up a kind of fun, interesting way of dealing with what it was doing in the whole thing. I won't get into spoilers or anything if you haven't seen them, but I think if you watch the first film and you like it, give the second film a chance. Like I said, it might kind of throw you off a little bit here and there with the kind of shift in sort of genre and whatnot slightly, but it really is kind of fun and engaging in certain ways. Like it has a little bit of a heart to it with the characters. So it's like there's certain things to get into. I really want to get these on the slate to do something with them and everything. So, and sadly, obviously discovering these on home video, the second film did not make as much. It made a profit, but not make nearly as much money as the first film did. And so they've kind of squandered, kind of wiped their hands of doing another film, which I think really would have excited me at this point in time if I got that chance. But anyway, so, and of course the last thing, which is just came out, my Blu-ray of Avengers Endgame, which I did just watch tonight with the commentary track from the filmmaker, the directors, and the screenwriters, which was kind of nice. I got a little insight here and there, but bonus features are nothing really special. Sadly, that this is such a momentous milestone in cinema history and in the franchise and all this different stuff, that you would have think they would have put something a little bit more substantial on the disc. They gave it a little bit more something to it, a little bit more to it. I mean, there's nice featurettes on here, but there's nothing comprehensive about the entire journey that this entire thing's going on from 2008 up to now. This 20 some odd film saga doesn't really get that kind of like big momentous sort of big documentary type of thing that you think there should be. So we'll just have to see where things go on, but I still enjoyed watching the film and experiencing it, and I still love at the end of the film they did the Star Trek 6 sign off for all the characters in the film. I just absolutely, I flipped out the first time I saw that in the film. I was like, that's Star Trek 6. Someone here knows and loves Star Trek 6 to do that. It's like, I was absolutely flipping my lid for that at the end of the movie. It's like, that was beautiful. It's so much. I want to rip footage from both films and kind of, do a comparison. Do something with them. Even if it's just for myself, not to post online, but I just like, once in a while, rip the end credits from both films and kind of match them up in some way. I just love it. I love it. Apparently, on the commentary, they couldn't remember what Star Trek film, because apparently it was someone else's idea, not the Russo's idea or whatnot, but it was someone else's, and they weren't entirely certain which Star Trek film it came from, so it was like, this is Star Trek 6! Anyway, guys, so, well, that's all that stuff here and everything, so, nice long video here, nice half-hour long update, but, cool stuff and everything, so, been a lot of stuff going on, and yeah, we are like I said, there was that other script I felt was a little bit too much to kind of jump off on at this point in time. Obviously, there's been a lot of stuff in the last month and a half that's gone on that's kind of put things in a little bit of a different perspective, and certainly at a much later point in time. The summer's kind of mostly passes by because our friend Eric Woltman, who I really wants to work with me on another film, starting up because he's also a music teacher. So schools are starting back up. He has a lot less open time. So it's like, I think a much smaller scale type of thing would work much better. And that sort of stuff, like the score for The Fog and various other little things, kind of was starting to stir things up between Steve and myself. And so it's like, I haven't worked on it in a little bit because there was all these other things going on, but I can kind of seek myself back into a bit of a atmospheric mood to kind of work on that, to watch a couple other films to get my feeling back for it. But I wrote about like a page and a half of stuff. I don't know if it's anything that's going to stay in the script, but it was at least an exercise to get the feel of what I'm trying to start off with this whole thing. So, and there's another little script that's kind of in the back pocket. We're not sure if it's going to happen, but it's something that's there, that Steven, a friend of his, wrote a number of years ago, that I said I still think this is a really good piece of work. We could definitely do something with this if you guys want to pursue that option. So things are there. The filmmaking stuff is still in the queue for what we want to do here and everything. Just finding the time and the inspiration to get things in motion. So, guys, that's all I got to share. That's really it. That's the most I have. You might notice I put up this kind of unusual piece of video up a couple weeks ago, a trailer for In Search of Tomorrow, which is a documentary that's being produced from the same people who did In Search of Darkness and Oliver Harper's In Search of the Last Action Heroes. So I'm being involved with just the marketing end of that whole thing. So whenever they have new stuff to share and new updates, I'll definitely be parsing that out to you guys as well. And if you want to be involved with the entire process, if you engage with the videos I have and click the links to be involved with that from my videos, there is a little something I get for being involved with the process. So really enjoy having you guys around here and being very much supportive and still commenting and sharing all that type of stuff. If ever you want to get that early access for things, there's always the Patreon. For a few bucks a month, you just get some really good stuff in terms of early access and a little bit of insights into different little things here and there that I am working on, and various other little nice things. So anyway, guys, I'm just going to cut it off here instead of ramble on and on and on. But regardless of that, guys, there's some other cool stuff we're getting up to soon. So definitely keep posted to the channel and all the social media accounts, and you'll get more updates and more heads up about things as they come along. So sorry it took so long to get back to a video update, but like I said, there was just so many things that I was trying to get a lot of things out because I was falling a little bit behind. So I want to focus on just getting the production end of things done for the main videos and get the recordings done for the commentaries, all that type of stuff, and still maintain all the other things in my schedule. So I just this felt like a nice piece of time. I got a little bit of time here on this Friday night, and still some other time left over to kind of settle back in and close out my evening. So guys, I hope you're having a good time, whatever day you're watching this on, whether it's a weekend, weekday, whatever it is, when you're catching up with me. I just hope it's been a good day, a good couple of days, good week for you guys and everything like that. And we're close to 6,000 subscribers. We've gotten an extra 2,000 subscribers since the beginning of this year. It's nuts. It's like I've been putting out fewer reviews than I have in previous years because I've had all this other weird nonsense going on. There's all these setbacks and all these weird things with my schedule happening that I haven't got as many reviews out. But the rapid growth of subscribership has increased this year by a level I've not seen up to this point. So I don't know what it is, but thank you guys. Thank you guys for checking things out, hitting subscribe, and engaging and doing all these good things around here. And just thanks so much. We really appreciate myself, Steve, and Trent. We just very much appreciate you guys being involved with the interaction on the channel and just enjoying what we have to offer. So guys, thanks so much. And I'm going to get out of here and let you guys move on with your day. So guys, thanks much. Take care. Bye-bye.